Exelon Utilities is part of Exelon, and Exelon Utilities serves gas and electric customers. There are approximately 10 million customers in Illinois, in Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Washington, D.C.
Tell me about your background at Exelon Utilities.
I assumed the role of Chief Customer Officer, reporting to Dennis O'Brien, who's the CEO of Exelon Utilities. So my role, really, I see my role pretty simply. As Exelon thinks about how do we have a good, cohesive, consistent customer strategy, Dennis thought it was very important to have somebody on point. So Dennis created the Chief Customer role. Our first step is to think about how to work collaboratively with the utilities on the strategy. I think we need to ensure a couple things as we think about developing the strategy. The first is make sure that it's informed by the right stakeholders. And we think about the stakeholder base as not only the internal people who work in Exelon, but also lots of external stakeholders. So there could be policymakers, it could be regulators. Obviously, it'll be our customers. But we're also very interested in industries that have been disrupted. So what did telecom do and what did they learn from their mistakes? We're going to be very interested in that as we do our work. The second is to make sure that the strategy is consistent and that we're aligned on it. And I think that's going to be a bulk of the work that we have to do. We're going to have to work across the utilities, come up with some guiding principles, agree on those principles. The trick will be we need to allow the utilities to have some regional feel, if you will. That will allow them to best serve and satisfy their customer base. And then the third thing is working the culture. When you have operating models where you have distinct utilities, being very mindful about the culture and getting people to understand that the responsibility of a good customer experience is not the responsibility of customer operations. It's the responsibility of everybody who works within the utilities. So I see my role as helping those groups see that and making sure that all the work we do is through the lens of the customer.
Tell me about Exelon's vision for their customers' experience.
Well, I think it does start with executive support, and we have that in Dennis. The fact that Dennis O'Brien has named a Chief Customer Officer, that's a recognition that we need somebody working collaboratively with the utilities. I think that's number one. I think he also demonstrates that support by talking about the customer view, the customer experience in his staff meetings. And our CEOs are wired towards that. The CEOs at the individual utilities talk a lot about the customer experience.
How do you align the customer experience across different operating companies?
If you have a consistent strategy, and I think if you have the guiding principles that underline that strategy, it will be easier to keep the teams aligned. We have two core values at Exelon. One is operational excellence, and the other is innovation to serve our customers better. And all the CEOs are aligned on that. So what we will be doing is around the issue of, or the topic of innovation. We will allow some of the utilities to get ahead of the other utilities, but then share those learnings across the utilities. But when it comes to matters of convergent, we are starting to think about how do we converge our technologies. When you converge your technologies, by default, you converge your processes. So some of those things will naturally take care of themselves.
Speak to the changes required in your technology in order to achieve your customer experience vision.
We all have an experience with technology. We're no different than what our customers want. So I think about what I want. I want it fast, and I want it on my time. So very rarely, and I don't think you as well. I mean, are you calling a call center during the hours of 8 to 5? You typically do that kind of stuff after the workday on your own time, because it's convenient to you. And so that's what we're starting to see, the changes in the technology. Do we have an IVR that is responsive to voice? So we're not pushing buttons, or we're not waiting for a CSR. Can we do everything via the IVR? We can do that transaction anytime during the day. What does our web look like? You need to have a robust web that is easy to use, doesn't take a lot of drill down to get to the transaction, provides confirmation that the transaction is complete. What you find is many web applications, you do the transaction, you do not get a confirm, the customer calls. So you've inconvenienced your customer. So thinking through that, we're thinking about technology that is easy to use, works at the customer's convenience, and provides the right amount of confirmation that the transaction has been done and they don't have to worry about that transaction, and the right follow-throughs. We talk a lot about, and I think most utilities are solving for this, how do you communicate with a customer proactively around outages, whether that's a planned outage or a storm? What do you do throughout that journey? The ETR, changes to the ETR, your power is restored. Please help us understand if you are restored or not. But also usage. Your bill is getting high. You've set a predetermined rate. Here's your notification. Your bill is due in 10 days. Your payment posted.
How do you utilize the voice of the customer to build your strategies?
Throughout the industry, and Exelon Utilities is no different, we are seeing that our customers are obviously interested in more choices. Choices in the terms of products and services. So, is there an interest in solar? Some of our utilities have a customer base that shows a great interest in solar. Energy efficiency programs. Most of our utilities support that, and our customers are very interested in it. But also choices around how do they engage with us. So what does our web look like? What does the IVR look like? How are we engaging with our policymakers around things as simple as how we're handling delinquent customers' prepaid meters? So we are constantly scanning the industry, using the feedback from our customers, whether that's anecdotally through the call center or actually focus groups. And I'd summarize them if you had one theme, I would say it is choice. Whether that's choice by channel, choice by product and service, the customer base is not staying static. They want different things from us. They want reliable service, but that's table stakes. So in addition to reliable service, what are the other things you're going to provide for me?
Where does the voice of the employee come in to your strategies?
In many cases in our companies, our employees are our customers. So they are a very valuable resource because I think they'll be more obviously they have a perspective from both ends of the spectrum, which is incredibly valuable. So I think that's important, that they can play both roles for us. But I think second of all, the folks who touch the work at the ground level understand what's broken. They understand what doesn't work. They are the ones that the customer will complain to or give feedback to. So I think our employees play a very valuable role in pushing information up so that we can get better, but they also play that critical role being out in the field, out on the phones, out at community activities in pushing our message out. So they're a very important conduit into the company and an important conduit out of the company. They know their work better than anybody. So if we can get them to kind of turn their view and say, how does this feel to the customer? If I was a customer and I had to walk through this transaction, what would I do differently? So I think the role would be the repository of knowledge for us to start shifting our processes. The second role they would have is be open to the change. Don't be resistant to change, because we are going to have to change the way we work. I think the third thing is our customers live in the communities in which we serve. So the role of an employee for Exelon is to listen. When you're at the barbecue, if you're at the family gathering, you're in the grocery store, listen to what people are saying about our company and bring those learnings back to us so that we can change the way we work and work better. And I think the other thing is with our employees, they have pride in who they work for. They have pride of Exelon Utilities, and they have pride of their individual operating company. And I think that's important in driving a good customer experience. If you're proud about the place you work and you're proud of the product and service you put out there, you'll deliver a quality service and a good experience for our customers. So I think they play a role in that, in driving a sense of pride in our company.